we're cutting across to news that's just coming in. The Delhi High Court is pronouncing its judgment in the Delhi police's plea against the discharge of Sharjeel Imam, Safoora Zargar, Asif Iqbal, Tanha and 8 others in the 2019 Jamia violence case. The court has now said that prima facie, as seen in the video, the respondents were the first in line of the mob. They were raising slogans against the Delhi police and were violently seen pushing the barricades. The right to peaceful assembly is subject to reasonable restriction, and acts of violence and violent speech are not protected. So that is the latest that we are getting in the Jamia violence case. We are given to understand that essentially this is looks like that the main accused in this case have been asked to face charges. The court has said that rioting and unlawful assembly is clearly seen in the pictures and the videos that have emerged out of the incident. Now, the court has said that prima facie, as seen in the video, the respondents were the first in line of the mob. Sambhav is reporting on this. He joins us on the phone line. Sambhav, good morning. Tell us more, please.
Well, the Delhi High Court has very categorically made it clear that there is no denial of the right to freedom of speech and expression. However, it should be peaceful and there should be a reasonable restriction, and the state has all the rights to uphold that reasonable restriction. That's what the Delhi High Court has very categorically said. Well, this Delhi High Court order came in the light of an appeal made by Delhi police in the Delhi High Court against the trial court's order, which had discharged Sharjeel Imam and others.
All right, I'm going to have to interrupt you there, Sambhav. Let's just go quickly across to Rhythm to understand what this essentially means for all these people. Rhythm, does this now mean that they face charges in this case?
Absolutely, Nupur. This is the big breaking news that's coming in. The Delhi High Court has set aside the trial court's decision to discharge Sharjeel Imam, Safoora Zargar, Asif Iqbal, Tanha, and others in the Jamia violence case. They have framed charges against them, and that's the breaking news, Nupur. Charges have today been framed against Sharjeel Imam under various provisions of the IPC. The judgment was passed on the Delhi police's plea that has been against the trial court order that has discharged the accused in the 2019 Jamia violence. Now, Justice Varnakanta Sharma of the Delhi High Court, while pronouncing the verdict, has made two very important observations. She says the right to peaceful assembly is subject to reasonable restrictions and the acts of violence or violent speeches are not protected. She also says, prima facie, as seen in the video, the respondents were in the first line of the mob. They were raising slogans of Delhi police Murdabad. They were violently pushing the barricades while referring to some of the accused. Remember earlier, ASG Sanjay Jain had made arguments for the Delhi police. On Feb 4th, the trial court had discharged Sharjeel Imam, but today, the Delhi High Court has set aside the trial court order. Charges are going to be framed against Sharjeel Imam and others. This is, remember, Nupur, in 2019, the Jamia Millia violence case. We at Republic TV were present there. The FIR is now alleging rioting and unlawful assembly at that time. The police then in 2020 had filed a charge sheet. A second supplementary charge sheet has been filed, and a third one. Finally, today what's really happened is, it's been stated that no matter what was stated in the court, today advocates Rajat Nair and Dhruv Pandey, who appeared to the Delhi police, have been able to clearly establish before the Delhi High Court that violent speeches cannot be protected. Charges today being framed against Sharjeel Imam in the Jamia violence case. And the court is very, very clearly said two important points, like I said. We're waiting for the order copy. But right to peaceful assembly is subject to reasonable restrictions. Acts of violent speeches are not protected.
Now, earlier, of course, Rhythm, the accused 11 people were discharged by the trial court on the 4th of February. However, it had framed charges of unlawful assembly and rioting against Muhammad Ilyas. Now, does this now mean that those 11 will be charged with the same offences, that is unlawful assembly and rioting, along with Muhammad Ilyas? So just break down today's judgment for our viewers, Rhythm.
Well, yes. So today, Nupur, what's happened is the court has framed charges against 9 accused. Let me actually tell you, framing charges is a very serious part of the trial. This is after a lot of discussion and deliberation, and after hearing in great detail, the Delhi High Court has come to this conclusion. It has partially discharged others from various offences, but has framed charges against 9 accused, including Sharjeel Imam, Asif Tanha and Safoora Zargar under IPC. Their court has also discharged some people, but like I said, the biggest point is that the court has said two things. At prima facie, they say, we have seen videos. And they say that these accused were in the first line of the mob. They were raising slogans with Delhi police, Murdabad. They were violently pushing the barricades. The court also says the right to peaceful assembly is subject to reasonable restrictions, and act of violence and violent speeches are not protected. In fact, Nupur, I would like to say Republic TV was very much present at Jamia, and we ourselves were manhandled by the crowd that was there. So we saw firsthand what had happened, what the Delhi police is indicating. When it comes to these people, it is very, very clear that prima facie, they had raised slogans of Delhi police, Murdabad, and they had violently pushed the barricades. And therefore, the violent speeches made by them are not protected.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So as Rhythm is pointing out, we will now see the framing of charges against about 12 accused in this particular case. The court has very clearly said that these people were seen in the video, and prima facie, it appears that a case can be filed against them. Rhythm continues to be with us on this broadcast. Now, Rhythm, in the trial court, of course, there were certain remarks that were made, and that is also something we understand that the Delhi High Court has passed some observations on.
There have been observations by the Delhi High Court, and trial, Nupur, has already begun in this case. There was earlier a seditious case in which Sharjeel Imam had granted bail, but because of this particular case also being there, he continues to be in jail. But we remember when there was the JNU student, Sharjeel Imam, he had been booked in the 2019 Jamia violence case earlier also. And he was granted bail, but the court had discharged them earlier, the trial court. But today the court has set aside the trial court order and said the charges will continue to be framed against these people. The moot question that the court was seeing is about how there was an environment of corruption and havoc, disruption and havoc that had been created. The police had registered several FIRs at that time. There was a clash between people protesting against the CAA. And then finally, I remember in 2019 at the Aligarh Muslim University and the Jamia, there was a threat to cut off Assam, the rest of Northeast from India by Imam. So all these factors taken together, the court has said charges will be framed against them.
All right, Rhythm Bhardwaj, our legal editor, joining us. Thank you very much for those details.